Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2026. I am Dave Bryan from SteelersDepot.com, and as usual with me, fresh off of yet another trip, his third of this year to Saint Vincent College in Latrobe, the one, the only, and easy to spot in the stands, Alex Kozora. Alex, happy Friday. It is July 31st, the final day of July. It is 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time, and you're already home, and you've already written your diary, and now we're doing the podcast early in the afternoon. So the day was kind of quick, was it not? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Dave. Happy Spaghetti Day, by the way. My days run together, but I'm sure you keep track of which day is which over there. Yeah, it was a shorter practice, 10:30 to noon. Mike McCarthy speaking beforehand, alerting reporters it'd be a mock game situation. Really just, in a lot of ways, a walkthrough session, 11 on 11, very light day. Players weren't even in the helmets or anything of the sort there. So there's certainly some information to glean. It was kind of a good housekeeping day for me, especially to get an eye on the backups, the reserves, who was kind of running where, get a good lay of the land. It's been tough to do these first 2 days. So there's really nothing there from an evaluation standpoint. That wasn't the intent of today's practice, but still some things for us to discuss.
All right, before we get to any of that housekeeping and start recapping the events from Friday's training camp practice, Alex, whenever somebody thinks about Disneyland or Disney World or Disney cruises, what should they think about?
TouringPlans.com, our longtime sponsor of these training camp podcasts and our daily camp coverage, and Len Testa, who runs Touring Plans, is a longtime, big-time Steelers fan, so just a happy marriage for them to sponsor us yet again. So if you're planning a trip to Walt Disney World or Disneyland, Touring Plans uses math and science to help families save time and money at those theme parks. You can find a crowd calendar on their app showing the best days to visit each park, step-by-step plans to avoid standing in line for hours, views from every hotel room, big discounts on tickets, and so much more. So if you're planning a winter vacation to Disney World, Disneyland, any of the Disney attractions, be sure to hit up touringplans.com and tell them Steelers Depot sent you.
Absolutely. They're good people over there. Len Testa and his fine folks over there got a great app and website as well, too. So if you're looking for something to bounce around on the web, make sure you type in touringplans.com and check out what's going on over there. All right, Alex, all right, I don't know where you want to start on this. I guess just kind of, and you already did kind of at the top of the show there, lay out what they, no helmets. They were in shorts and all, and a lot of floppy hats, it looks like, out there. Kind of what was the lay of land? The PUP list is still the same. Anybody else not doing anything?
Looked like TJ Watt and Cam Hayward had today off. Did not see them work in 11 on 11. But again, it was so not informal, but just so light that the work wasn't, really intense or going to stress you out too much. I didn't see Darnell Savage in 11 on 11. I saw him on the field. He was down there, looked fine, talking with some of the PUP guys, Porter and Jalen Ramsey. So I do want to check on Savage tomorrow, but that's all I really got. And status quo with the pup guys, Porter, Ramsey. Kent continues to do his work on the side.
All right, and how did they use the fields today?
They had stretch line on the middle field. Then they did their sort of 2-minute special teams session on the near field closest to the bleachers, which was very much situational like day number one. You got 20 seconds left. The ball's at midfield. You got no timeouts. So we're going to work a couple plays, then send the field goal unit out. They mixed in some punt team as well. So that's really been an emphasis these first 3 days, situational, but really end of half, end of game type of stuff. Mike McCarthy explaining those reasons why earlier in camp. So, and then once they finished that period up, which lasted about 25 minutes, a 75-minute period with first team starters, rotational players on the near field, and then backups, reserves on the middle field. And so that's how practice ran today.
All right, kind of a sped up walkthrough, right?
Yeah, you could. I think McCarthy and I saw the transcript earlier, called it a review day where they sort of reviewed their last 2 days of install, and it's apparently going to be sort of the plan going forward. They're going to work, next week 2 padded practices, and then have a review day, which will be padless, and then go back to pads for 3 practices, which breaks up because you can't go more than, I think, 4 straight days in pads per CBA rules, 3 or 4 days in a row. And so that all sort of tracks there. So, Mike Tomlin did occasionally would hold a walkthrough like today or similar to today, but that would often be right before a preseason game to kind of simulate game week, which is how, Saturday before Sunday game, you're doing your Saturday walkthrough. So this is a bit different, but a good chance to review. So there's probably still some very quality work that was done and accomplished on the field, I'm sure. It just wasn't super exciting from a me standpoint of trying to talk about who looked good because it wasn't that kind of day.
I'd imagine when we go through these groups here, then it's mostly going to be about who was wearing with what group more than anything else. Is that correct?
Correct, which was good, though, for me to kind of be able to focus on that today. I know yesterday I talked about a lot of these backups, reserves. I didn't have a lot of information on where they were aligning, how they were being used. Today, I could kind of really focus on that. So if you're really nerdy on the depth chart side of things, then we love that. We appreciate that. It's going to be your kind of show. If not, then maybe tomorrow we'll provide some more detail and substance.
All right, you son of a gun, I'm in. Let's start with the quarterback position then.
Yeah, the note here, and again, not looking at evaluations, but just all the attention put on these young quarterbacks in Will Howard and Drew Aller, and rightfully so. Don't need as much time with veterans and known established guys like Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph. So when they went to their dual 11-on-11 period, the first team and the second team is how they're couching it, so I'll refer it that way going forward. The first team, you had Brian Angelico calling the plays, the OC. You had Tom Arthur, the quarterback's coach, but on the second field with the twos, you had Mike McCarthy, Frank Signetti Jr. You also had the only, that I can tell, handheld camera that gets carried around. There's only one. There's a bunch of cameras that are static that are up on like lifts, so to speak, but there's one guy that walks around with a camera, and that was with the quarterbacks too, standing right behind them. So yeah, McCarthy over there, the camera's over there, and really just kind of fixating all the attention on developing these young quarterbacks and giving them all the tools, all the film, all the, just pouring into them every which way to be able to really work and develop these guys through a really important summer for both.
All right. What'd you observe at running back then?
Just from a depth chart standpoint, we're seeing Travis Homer continue to work first team up back on punt team, and just how loud, how vocal he is, which is so critical for that position because he is the quarterback. We've talked about that time and time again. He's the guy that's responsible for declaring the number of rushers or potential rushers, the one for getting the blocking assignment straight with him and the long snapper, then actually hiking the football. So he's had that role before. McCarthy talked about that, I think, earlier today as well. Maybe you can speak to that. But yeah, Homer working first team, Heidenreich second team. So no change there. If you want to know who was running with the ones who was on that field, it was Jalen Warren, Rico Dowdle, and Caleb Johnson. The rest were with the twos. So that's Travis Homer, Heidenreich, and Lou Nichols.
All right, let me see if I can help color this in Tony Romo fashion, or maybe not.
Maybe stay on that. JJ Watt fashion, we'll say.
Yeah, JJ Watt. I'm not that good now. Let's see. Mike McCarthy was asked about Travis Homer earlier this morning. Looks like he has. The question was, it looks like he has a lot of leadership duties on special teams so far. What did you know about him from his special teams work in the past to hand him the personal protector job right now? McCarthy said, well, I mean, we're working reps and so forth. I think that's good. McCarthy didn't take the full bait there. It doesn't look like with hand him the personal protector job right now question. But he says, well, I mean, we're working reps and so forth. I think obviously his history is he's a veteran special teams player. But yeah, once again, I'm looking forward to getting into the padded work, and that personal protector is important because obviously the identification, responsibility, and you do want an experienced player in there. That's a good quote right there. You do want an experienced player in there, but we got some good young guys that will have an opportunity in there also. So look, you and I, we're the gigantic special teams nerds, and we're the ones that say, hey, make sure you look for who the personal protector is in the even if it's second or third team in the preseason games here. The fact that Travis Homer has been the main guy up until now is something that needs to be in the back of everybody's minds right now. Now, well, obviously, nobody's going to anoint him the guy right now, but at least you'd have to agree he's in the clubhouse after the first day of action on the leaderboard, isn't he?
Sure, that's his path, and he certainly has a clear path to stick. Now, could somebody else knock him off of that spot? Sure. And you see Heidenreich working second team right behind him. And if he has the acumen to do that, then maybe that's enough to push Homer off the roster. We got Caleb Johnson working, right wing on punt team. So he's got not as important of a role, but they're all important. And the more versatility you have, the more value you create for yourself, the better your odds of sticking are. So we'll see. It's a long battle, but no surprise to see Homer get the nod off the bat. He's done it before in the NFL, as McCarthy touched on. So an experienced guy that knows how to get everything aligned and all the T's crossed and I's dotted. So it's going to be his path, and it's certainly his path right now.
All right. Anything else with the running backs you want to discuss?
No, really, that was all I have
right.
today on that position.
All right. The wide receivers, Jeremy Bernard, a little bit of one action today, huh?
Yeah, and they do so much mixing and matching. I know I've said that so many times, but just how much do you make out of this stuff? I'm not quite sure. It did allow, I think, DK Metcalf to play in the slot a little bit more. I know McCarthy earlier today talked about getting Roman Wilson to play on the outside more than he has so far, and I'm sure that'll continue throughout this process. But Bernard getting a look there, so that's something we'll continue to watch going forward. How that rotation between him and Wilson looks. Will Roman be back in that spot tomorrow? Will they split? Will it be Jeremy Bernard? We'll have to see Brandon Smith working with that ones group, which I've kind of noted a time or two maybe yesterday it was, but really getting to see it today. And so you have your expected receivers with the ones and DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman Jr. and Wilson, Bernard, Ben Skoranek, Brandon Smith, the other with the twos. The other receivers were Levi Wentz, A.T. Perry, Joaquin Davis, Caden Weegan, and Cole Burgess. So that's kind of the dividing line there. Davis had a drop on a smoke screen, then one other pass behind him. But again, it's hard to really evaluate too much of today.
All right, tight ends.
Tight end, Robert Tonyan working with the ones. And so just to kind of read off that group, Pat Fryermuth, Darnell Washington, Robert Tonyan, and Jaheim Bell. I think Tunyan's pretty clearly above the likes of Lake McCree and J.J. Galbraith. Bell getting a little bit of fullback work today. And so did Riley Nowakowski. I saw him lined up in the strong eye formation, very classic West Coast type stuff, under center run out of the strong eye today. So Bell getting a little bit of fullback work. He's H-back capable, and Nowakowski playing wide off, playing fullback, kind of showcasing his versatility.
All right. How about on the offensive line today?
Yeah, there was no true really ones or twos. They were trading off most of these guys, unless you were a clear starter like Fautanu or McCormick or Frazier, then they stayed with the ones. If you're a clear backup like Lorenzo Thompson or somebody like that, Doug Nestor, they stayed with the twos. But a lot of guys were switching off. I'm not entirely sure the reason, maybe to play different positions or just be with different people, because you never know what injuries can create where you suddenly have a different guy next to you. But Broderick Jones working left tackle and right tackle today during portions of practice. Lorenzo Thompson working left tackle and left guard throughout portions today. We talked about him. He's played left tackle and left guard in the past. And so some flipping and flopping from the tackles today, Dave.
All right. Anybody else other than Broderick flip sides at any position?
Trying to think if I saw anything on terms of sides today. I don't believe so at the top of my head. I don't think I saw Nestor switch, or Johannesor didn't switch. Fautanu stayed put. So I think it was mostly Jones switching sides, but there were a lot of combinations with all these guys going back and forth. You got Hoffman going between the ones and twos, and McCullum and Stephen Jones ones and twos, and even Johannesor was kind of working ones and twos, but still working at right tackle. Same with Dylan Cook. So it's hard to really maybe track every single combination. I have a couple noted in the post, but I did see Broderick Jones at left tackle and right tackle today.
All right. Obviously, not a lot to report on as far as actual performances going, not going full speed and such, like that. But were there any kind of 40,000 foot takeaways from the offense from what you saw?
There's really no takeaway in terms of the group. I mean, they were working. I mean, Heidenreich was running down the seam for, I think, a couple of quote-unquote touchdowns during their, hurry-up last-second period. But the defense, they couldn't even bat the ball away today. It just was very, very light. So Heidenreich, getting split out a couple times, showcasing kind of the receiving chops. But, yeah, I mean, it's just there's no real evaluation of the units.
All right, defensive line. I think you had a note or two, something along the lines of role for Keanu Benton becoming a little bit clearer.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, we're just 3 days in, and it's a little tough to judge when these groups are split off or some of these guys playing positions because the lines with their group are a little bit thinner. They don't have everybody at their disposal, or is it because that's their intent or plan? Not entirely sure, but the starting base D line today with the ones with Hayward watching was Harmon at left defensive end, Y.A. Black at nose tackle, and Benton was at Hayward's spot at right defensive end. So I've seen Benton play left defensive end, right defensive end these last couple of days. And sub packages, you had Harmon and Benton working in there. And so, yeah, I mean, it's kind of felt like Benton playing clearly more defensive end than he has before. And I'm not even sure how much nose tackle he's gotten. And to my notes, it's been Y.A. Black working at nose tackle first team in Pittsburgh's base 3-4. And then today, getting a good look at it, Gabriel Rubio, the rookie 6th-round pick, getting work at second team nose tackle. So he played more tackle and defensive end at Notre Dame, but really playing nose tackle here today.
And I think I said after we had, after he was drafted and we got the chance to look at the tape that I kind of felt like, because of not really being a pass rusher and just the snaps that he played better the closer he was to the center. Period. So I did kind of wonder if we might see him get some work there, but it's way too early to obviously read way too much into that. But it's obviously we can put a line in the sand after these 3 days and make notes of that. And obviously when we get into the preseason, take some notes there and look at the charting and see what that says there. So that's what about the second team
Sure.
on the defensive line?
Yeah, the initial base look was Asazio Tomewa at left defensive end, Kyler Baugh at nose tackle, and Logan Lee at right defensive end. You had a lot of Goodlow and Jobity coming in nickel situations. I think in the starting, it's so kind of weird and awkward to say, but the starting sub package for the twos was Otomewa and Logan Lee with Baugh coming off the field, and Goodlow and Jobity filtering in. So Boss, in this sense, kind of third team nose tackle, which is the role he held basically last preseason after getting signed. But yeah, Oto Maywell with the twos was a little surprising there, but kind of getting squeezed. You had Dean Lowry with the ones. You had, of course, Sebastian Joseph Day with the ones with the other usual suspects there. So Oto Maywell probably sitting right on that bubble.
All right. I think you said no Watt, no Highsmith today. So what does that leave us at outside linebacker?
Highsmith was out there today. Watt was watching. Yeah, Hayward was off.
Hayward was off. Okay.
Yeah, Hayward, Watt seemed to get the day off. So you had with the ones at outside linebacker, T.J. Watt, Nick Herbig, Alex Highsmith, Watt watching, but Herbig, Highsmith, and Sawyer. And then with the twos, you had just Jamin Davis and Julius Wilshoff. And so I think they were kind of running some 3 off-ball linebacker looks to kind of sub with only having 2 edge guys out there. So you had Carson Bruner, Malik Harris, and Jacoby Windman getting a couple looks there. Windman can play outside and inside, so that kind of makes it a natural thing to do. So again, evaluation standpoint, not a whole lot there, but really can confirm Jamin Davis, who's played a lot of off-ball throughout his career, is playing outside linebacker, primarily on the left edge in Pittsburgh right now.
All right, I'll get my pen out and make a note of that because that was one of the questions we had about maybe some position flexibility with him. And as you just noted, Windman inside, outside, right?
Yeah, I mean, there were some of those kind of 3 off-ball linebacker looks, and so I think they just kind of made it work there because you only had Davis and Wilshoff as your 2 edge guys, and you can't put them out there for every single rep. They got to get a breather every now and then, so I think they were kind of filtering in with some of those, 3 linebacker, off-ball linebacker looks with Bruner and Harrison and Windman. So we'll see. It's a little thin at edge, though. Somebody goes down, they may have to make a move there because there aren't a ton of bodies.
All right, inside linebacker. Did you see Malik Harrison today?
Yeah, he's with the 2. So in that kind of base 3-4 with the 2s, it was Harrison and Carson Bruner, and then Windman would rotate in. And so they get eyes on Harrison. He's also working, and this might be a little too over the top in terms of analyzing it, but maybe there's no such thing on this podcast. But Harrison working with the second team on the punt team, on that blocking on the punt protect unit. So he was not with the ones there. You had other guys like Herbig and Sawyer and Carson Bruner, and so Harrison with the 2s, and so he's kind of a backup there, and obviously a backup on defense. Then I think he's probably starting to inch away from roster safety to in a pretty nebulous spot, as you've kind of made a comment or 2 or 5 on throughout this offseason.
Or 50.
Or 50.
Is he outside the bubble?
I mean, I think it's too early to really say that with high degree of confidence. They can still keep 5 inside linebackers and he'd
Right.
be part of that 5, but I I think I came into camp with him at 60% odds to make it. It's probably getting closer to 50 right now, Dave.
All right, all right. We'll monitor that moving forward. Okay, obviously, some DBs on PUP right now. Tell me about the cornerbacks that are out there.
Yeah, with the ones, I'll kind of go through just who was playing where. Again, today, a housekeeping day. Cornerback, Jamel Dean, Asante Samuel Jr., Brandon Eccles, Timon Lynham, and Daryl Porter. At safety, Brisker, Elliott. Savage was around that group watching. I didn't see him take a rep. And then Jack Henderson. And then with the twos, you had at cornerback, Dalen Everett, Amari Harvey, Deshaun Jameson, Denico Slaughter, and safety, Sebastian Castro, Robert Spears Jennings, and Devon Boykin. So Everett kind of with the twos and Lyman with the ones I thought was interesting. That might be a left-right thing. I'm not entirely sure if that's the reason why Everett's played a lot of left, although I think I had him on right corner a little bit today. Lyman's been playing right corner from what I was able to see. So again, the evaluation pretty darn light, but those were the groups today. You had Jameson playing inside out. You had Slaughter playing inside out. And so those guys showing off their versatility.
All right, Mike McCarthy talked a little bit about Asante Samuel Jr. during his press conference this morning. He says, I know personally I'm counting on him. It's just like anything in this league. You come into a new job, new situation, especially as a head coach. There's individuals that obviously competed. He says he obviously competed against his father. He's frankly been one of my favorite players since I arrived there. I just love the way he works. He's extremely physical. His ball skills are off the charts. That's a big thing. That's something I really look for in defensive backs. We want to take the ball away, catch the flash of the ball. I don't know if that's a misprint there. And he has all that. He's been here every single day of the offseason program. He's had 2 really good practices so far. His first day, he did a really nice job. So I think the young man is a hell of a football player. So that's from McCarthy on him. And on Everett, the whole thing was brought up with the Metcalf touchdown versus Everett on Thursday there. And towards the end, McCarthy made sure to give praise to Aaron Rodgers for putting that ball right where with the DB's back turn where DK could get it and give him a chance on it and all. And but he said he's holding his leverage, and you got 2 extraordinary athletes going up, competing, making plays on the ball. He says, to me, that's a high quality rep because of the big play importance in our game. You have to make those plays. And obviously you can see the trust Aaron had in DK where he put the ball and DK won the battle. So you can't get enough of those reps for all of our guys. But yeah, he, meaning Everett, doesn't look like a rookie. He says, I've been impressed with him.
Yeah, it all sounds good. I mean, I think McCarthy's not going to be one to be too critical of probably anybody, especially not a rookie in a position that needs confidence like cornerback. But yeah, just good. These are the times to learn. Yeah, Metcalf won that rep, but that's okay. It's okay to quote unquote lose that rep in the summer if you're going to go make that play whenever it's whenever the games count in the fall. So. A lot of guys aren't built like DK Metcalf, too, so there's no
Right.
shame in that moment there. But Samuels had a really good start. Obviously, today, not much to note, but a really good first 2 days. And then he spoke with Mike Prisuta, Steelers.com, just talked about Miles' improvement from where he was last year, having a full offseason, full training camp, being healthy, not focused on rehab recovery. We've talked about that quite a bit more. We thought there could be some encouraging returns on Samuel in his second season with Pittsburgh after signing last November. So I think it's all kind of coming to fruition right now.
All right, I don't imagine you have much from the special teams category today, huh?
No, just from the things I mentioned with Homer and Heidenreich, and I got some of the notes in the diary. Should note at safety too, Devon Boykin playing safety with the twos, and so he played a lot of corner at college, really slot corner last year at Indiana. He played some safety at NC State before transferring to Indiana, and so it's kind of probably falling back on those roots. So thought Henderson getting work with the ones was a bit interesting. Mostly with the twos, it was Sebastian Castro, and Robert Spears Jennings, but then you had Boykin also filtering, and Mari Harvey, by the way, playing some right corner. Just haven't talked about him too much,
Okay.
and so just want to get a note where I saw him today working at right corner with the twos.
All right, I'll give you the floor for any final words or thoughts on what happened on Friday.
Yeah, today obviously not too exciting. It sounds like this will happen every couple of practices too, so just kind of going to be aware for that. I don't know if that's going to happen just for the morning practices. There's one other one that's very early, like 10:15. That's later in August, towards the end. Just want to note too, after practice, the rookies were called over to the middle field to go talk with Coach Mike McCarthy, and McCarthy gathered them all the draft picks, all the UDFAs, anybody who's a true rookie, and McCarthy was talking to them for at least 5 minutes, if not longer. Didn't seem angry, just imparting whatever wisdom he had on the day, but thought that was interesting, and I've never really seen that before with just the rookies talking to the head coach.
All right, Saturday should be a fun day, right? We got the Hall of Honor announcement, I think, in the morning, right? Somewhere around 10 o'clock Eastern time. So we'll be getting started with that. Mike McCarthy once again speaking before practice, and then practice getting underway. I don't have the sheet. Do you have your timer? Do you have your calendar all set for what time you're supposed to be there tomorrow?
I will when I need to in time. Let me check here. It's 11:20 a.m. So we're back to 11:20 a.m. for tomorrow's practice.
All right. Are you wearing deodorant and all? Because nobody seems to be wanting to sit around you.
No, so is that evident in the photo, I guess?
I don't know. So I couldn't even find you. I had to turn it over to the group in Discord, and Josh Carney spotted you right away. I knew roughly where you sit, but I'm almost 60 now, and I just can't see it. I even enlarged the photo, and I couldn't see it. But the boys picked you out real quick, and it didn't look like you had many people right next to you.
The crowds have been, I know you're just joking, but the crowds have been thinner because of the morning practices. I also sprawl out a little bit to maybe make it where someone doesn't sit right next to me, so I can have a little bit of space to move and shake. Tim Rice was Tim Rice was on the field today with credentials. I'm sure he got some great photos, but he'll be sitting next to me tomorrow for practice.
All right. I'll decide, when your morale improves, I'll up your food budget for you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Dave.
You'll be back out there on Saturday. You and I get back together Saturday evening when you get back. Probably won't be this early. We'll have to see, but, that'll be our next show there. So, as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button. Maybe I'll let Alex buy a couple more McChickens if people do that. Also, if you'd like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button and follow the directions that way to get a login and take advantage of the ad-free version of the site. So until Saturday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2026 with Dave and Alex.